Hello everybody and welcome back to the Alternative Sports Show. As ever, the main man, the wingman, Dre, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Hiding out for my kids in my wardrobe again, but day two. So but otherwise than that, I'm good.
He's feeling good. He's feeling happy. Last time we spoke, Liverpool weren't yet Premier League champions, and now they are. Congratulations, mate. You must be very happy. But I'm double, triple happy because we've outdone ourselves here. We've got a mega star of a guest, Eni Aluko. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Sorry, my background is not as cool as Dre's.
I know, he's showing us up here. He's
really
outdone
good.
us.
I'm happy to be on the show.
No, I appreciate it. And I think, we're so grateful that it's busy times. Things are starting to kind of flow back to normal, it feels. Football's back. We've seen friendlies in France with PSG and Le Havre with 5,000 fans in attendance. So I feel like, fingers crossed, we're getting back to normal. But Eni, for you, you've been super busy. If people don't know your resume as a footballer, they're mad. They got to do their research. But, you have been so proactive during and after. But before we get to that, how has the lockdown process been? It's been a mad year and we're only halfway through.
Lockdown has been up and down, really. The first 2 months I really enjoyed. I moved back in with my family and so had lots of fun with them. I haven't lived with my family for 15 years now. So it was nice to kind of just feel like a kid again, wake up to nice home cooked food, do my workout. I've got quite a big family, so there's lots of activity. And then I really took a lot of time to just chill and read more and go for nice walks in the countryside. I think what it really did, lockdown, was really kind of reset everybody to just what is kind of basic in life, without the frills and the spills and rushing, getting on the tube and all that. And it was really nice. And then I got a little bit kind of not bored, but I kind of started missing my friends and social interaction. So yeah, there was ups and downs, I think, but I'm lucky that I was able to work through lockdown as well. I pretty much started my new job in March when the pandemic hit. So I feel like I can probably deal with anything from a work perspective, because it was probably the most unexpected time to start a new job. So
it's so important, isn't it, this period, because it has been, I feel, for a lot of people, a moment of reflection. We've kind of, I had dinner with my brother for the first time since this happened yesterday, and he said one thing that we kind of learned from this is the importance of family. And it's like you refresh, you reset, and you realize, wow, like it really re-energizes everyone. So I guess it kind of is interesting because you've written a book. They don't teach this.
They don't
available everywhere.
Everywhere. And Amazon, where else?
The works.
Waterstones.
Hardback, on the Kindle, you name it.
Book, so you can.
You got an audio version as well.
Yeah, so you can listen to me for hours.
So when you do that process, how long does it? Because some books you get some books. Some people get themselves to do it, the writers, sometimes it's completely different. So you have voiced, of course, your book. The process, how long does that take? Does it take a day? Is it a few days? Vocal warm-ups? What are we saying?
Yeah, well, the actual book took like 18 months to do. And I worked with the ghostwriter, who is obviously a professional writer, but I was very hands-on in the process, particularly the creative process. The name of the book was my idea, the structure of the book to kind of make it like a class, a series of classes, the tone of the book, the voice of the book, the lessons within the book, they were all my kind of doing and my idea. And then the audio book took about 12 days. It was probably 8 hours a day for 12 days. It took a while because, again, we wanted to get it right. I wanted it to be all my voice. I didn't want a narrator. And I was in Italy at the time. So, we had to I had Italian audio specialists who sometimes didn't understand what I was trying to say. And it took a little bit longer than it should have done. But, we got there in the end, and I think, people have loved it. People have really, I think, resonated with the book, which gives me a lot of joy.
I mean, for someone that's played in 3 countries for football, 102 caps at England, part of Team GB, that's just the football side of it. And of course, yourself as off the pitch. How hard is it for anyone that writes an autobiography? Because of course, there's not many footballers in our kind of generation that have done that yet. How hard is it to kind of not kind of sugarcoat or gloss stories? How hard is it to, because it's like playing a football match. You might think, oh yeah, I've done this, I did that, amazing shots, I did really well. Someone might say, yeah, but you didn't quite track back. So how hard was it to be honest and be truthful to the stories in that process?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because actually, when you, in terms of writing a book, you get approached to write a book. So my publisher, Penguin, and the imprint Vintage approached me to write the book. And prior to that, I had 2 separate approaches to write a book, and I turned them down because I wanted to, if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it properly. And I wanted a book that was really going to speak to people's real life experiences beyond just being a footballer and saying, oh, I scored a great goal in 1995. I wanted to talk about life. I wanted to be vulnerable myself. I wanted to be very open, brutally honest. I wanted to be truthful about a lot of the stuff that's probably in the public domain that people maybe didn't understand. So, you have to be ready to be in a vulnerable place when you're writing a book. And it's almost like therapy. I had to reflect a lot on, the things that I've done really well, the things I've failed with, to your point about, footballers, there's a lot of sugarcoating, there's a lot of glorification, there's a lot of, wow, man, you did this, you achieved this, you achieved that. But for every achievement, there's a failure. And, I was very open about talking about that. The book actually the first chapter of the book starts with failure. So off the bat, the reader feels like, okay, this isn't a book just about how great it is to play football. This is a book about life, like the realities of life and how you bounce back from that. So I'm really proud of that, because I really wanted the book to speak to so many different aspects of life through the lens of a footballer. I happen to play football, but there's so many other aspects of life that I can connect with, identity, race, being a woman in a man's world as a footballer, failure, success, friendship, forgiveness, family, travel. Like there's so much that I packed in there to make sure that, whoever I'm speaking to, whoever's reading it can take lessons from it in whichever way they want to.
When you're piecing together these stories, was it ever with, say, close friends or family where you'd go, oh, I've got something in my back pocket here. It's a great story that relates to you. Do you ever go like, hey, heads up, you're in the book? Or do you like to go out there and surprise people with it?
Well, I had to be quite conscious, actually, that, obviously it was my autobiography, but, I don't live in isolation. I have a big family. I have extended family. I have friends, and I have to respect their privacy too. So yeah, I had to have a lot of conversations with family about saying, are you okay with me putting this in? My mom's a big influence in my life, and I wanted that to come across in the book. And my mom's quite a private person, so there was a lot of negotiation with my mom in terms of what can be in and what can't be in. So there's actually a lot of stuff that left out of the book for that reason, because ultimately, I have to respect that, it's my book, but it has an impact on other people's lives as well. So I probably could have written another book on, relationships and, family and stuff like that. But, that I think some things are best left private as well.
Well, you're a better person than me, because if for whatever crazy reason, if there was ever a book about me, I would be surprising people left, right, and centre. I'd be like, "Ha, you're in the book."
Oh,
there you go.
I got to keep a lookout for this one. Then all of these.
Come on, you, Dre.
Eni, I was looking through your book, and I was just like, okay, where's the bit where you met me? But I didn't see that, so I'm assuming that's in the follow-up that's coming up.
Very fair. Okay.
Good segue, mate. I love that.
I think that put you in the follow-up as a
Yeah, thank you. That's what I told all my friends. Like, literally, I had them all round, and we was reading through the whole thing. It was quite embarrassing, but I was thinking she's going to get me at some point.
It's funny because obviously I have some amazing friends. I've got friends that I've been friends with for years, and I really had to kind of make a decision about, okay, the book I want to be quite succinct and punchy about really quite hard-hitting topics, and I could have gone off tangent and spoken about, friends and friendships and what we did in, I don't know, different places we've traveled to. And so actually I didn't really talk that much about other people, like in terms of my friends. And, I hope they understand that. I mean, I referenced a few friends, but I think you can go off on so many tangents.
Oh God, you know so many people. You'll be talking about people. I mean, you'll be like the Bible. That.
Exactly. Like I had to kind of just be very strict with that.
One thing I wanted to speak about. Obviously, we met each other several years ago, and literally when I met Eni, I had to pretend like I was trying to be cool. We met at an NFL event. She was like, "Oh, I'm Eni." I was just like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "I know who you are." So, for me, I want to talk about you mentioned early on that you started off with failures, and it doesn't even putting you alongside that word doesn't make any sense to me because obviously I followed your career as a friend as well, and seeing you at Wembley lifting up trophies with Chelsea, you playing for England, and then which actually, because people don't, people who don't follow women's football don't realise that there's teams across the world. When you went to Juventus, I was like, my God, and this is around the time, correct me if I'm wrong, when Ronaldo came over around the same time, wasn't it?
Or the day after.
Yeah, and so for me, I was just like, what a time to be there. And forget about Ronaldo for once. And obviously, this is one of the rare times we can say that. What was it like for you? Obviously, I know you've played for England and so forth, but for me, you moving abroad, that's such a big thing. What was that like? The whole Italian experience like?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing, and it was a huge kind of lesson for me, and a big experience for me to grow. I think to your earlier point about success, you can have successful people. I think the difference between successful people and the rest is that how they bounce back from failure and the challenges that they're willing to take on to get better. I'm not afraid of putting myself in outside of my comfort zone. I'm not afraid of failing. Yeah. And so because you're not afraid of that, you end up succeeding more. Yeah. A lot of people stay in their comfort zones and go, "Oh, I'm not going to be good at that," or "I'm not going to, I'm going to fail at that, so I'm not going to do it." But until you actually do it, you're not going to. The other side of fear and failure is success.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I've achieved so much, because I've always looked at, okay, what's the next thing I can do? What's the next thing I can do? And try to just believe in myself. And if I fail, okay, what did I do wrong? How can I make it better next time? I think that's a really important message we need to be sending out.
Definitely.
To young people, particularly because I think young people just think it's one scale up the mountain. It's just a straight, it's it's not. We need to.
And we've been going for 10 years now, and we've been going. Started from a basement of a Mexican restaurant to where we are now. Luckily, speaking to people like yourself, but obviously, as just the same as you, it's just if you think about the actual failure and you're worried about, oh, okay, well, people are going to laugh, or this will fail, or someone saying to you, okay, well, that's not going to work, or you're not going to be able to do that. No, you're not going to be able to do that. Doesn't mean that we are not going to be able to do that. But go on.
Yeah, so Italy was really that one of those experiences. It was like, what have I got to lose? It's
amazing.
I'd spent 6 years at Chelsea, successful period there, loved the club, still very, consider it family really in terms of some of the players there. But our time there came to an end. I needed to do something different. And it was pretty much the last sort of chunk of my career. And I thought, right, I've never played in Europe. I've never lived abroad where I had to speak a different language. And, you know, you kind of go back to that sort of vulnerability that I spoke about earlier. And you go back to that humility where you got to learn, you got to be ready to look stupid. And so, yeah, so I turned up there the first day, which was the day after Ronaldo signed. So it was a big buzz around the place.
My God.
And, you know, I had to do a medical, and got to the medical center, and had to do like all these mad like tests, basically to basically just test me as a footballer. And honestly, Dre, they were the hardest things ever. Like, I had to run on a treadmill with a big mask over my mouth, and they were pushing the treadmill up to like maximum, and like I had to run with all these wires on me. It was mad. And I was a bit like, wow, like what have I got myself into here? Am I going to survive this? But I did. And, you know, met new players, new environment. The team was, the culture of the club was very, very professional, you know, very big on sports science. I was the fittest I probably had ever been in my career.
Really?
You know, at the end of my career, I was fitter than I was probably when I was 25, just because of the way Juventus worked. Obviously, living in Italy, the food and the travel and the culture was amazing. So yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. There was a lot of aspects that I found difficult, obviously, you know, the city Turin is not the most diverse. I mean, there's places like Rome and Milan that are much more diverse. Turin, I didn't connect with Turin as much as I'd like to, and it was very much centered on Juventus. Whereas I'm a person that likes to do different things, you know, beyond football. But it was an experience that, you know, will stay with me. You know, I can speak a little bit of Italian now.
Oh, excuse me. You know what? I won't put you on the spot. I'm not going to put you on the spot.
You can put me on the spot. Let me test myself.
Go on then.
Give me something to say.
Yeah.
All right.
Good morning. So how's it? Good morning.
Yeah.
Like, if we're coming in, say this is an Italian podcast. Ciao tutti. Good morning, Eni.
Good morning, all. Is buongiorno tutti. Buongiorno tutti. And what else can I say? I can say I'm happy. So
if you need something, so if you're out on a training pitch and you're looking for the water bottles, do you know how to like look over to a like coaching staff, say water please?
Okay, if you want to say water please, where's the water? You said dove agua.
Oh, no, so it's obviously very similar to well, of course, Latin ties, similar to Spanish, and
yeah, it's very similar to Spanish. Are you Spanish?
I'm half Filipino, but I've got a Spanish girlfriend, so I've been spending the last year and a bit learning Spanish, because I'll tell you what, like, you know, of course, hopefully my future family will be a mix of British, Filipino, Spanish. So when I'm visiting the family out in Spain, un poco español, it's dangerous. I said, I'm eating there, eating amazing food, just smiling, but I can't communicate. So it's so important to learn language. So kudos to you learning that. I've been out in Turin, and you kind of half answered the question, but I can see what you mean about how it is very much centralized around Juventus, because of course the Vinovo training center is kind of out of the way. It's like a 30-minute drive out there to get to the center. But you can see where there is some kind of appeal, because of course Aaron Ramsey's out there. Did you ever speak to anyone when you make the decision to go and play like in America or even like Juventus, for example? Like for yourself, you've made so many kind of bold career choices, and for the right reasons, of course. Do you confide in certain people connected to those clubs, or do you kind of trust your own gut instinct and go, I'm going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I do. Yeah, obviously, as you know, I fortunately at Juventus there was already English players there, so I had a chance to speak to them about the club and you know what it was like, and you know got honest feedback from them. It's funny, just before I moved out to Juventus, I was working in Russia in the 2018 World Cup, Men's World Cup. And Patrice, I was working with Patrice Evra.
Love that guy.
And he left, I think, Juventus maybe 2 years before. And he completely said, don't go. Like, I had a really bad experience. I didn't really like it. It was like an army camp. Do not go. And I was a bit like, okay, that's good to know. But funny enough, it made me want to go more. Because I just thought, well, you know, again, like, if I don't like it, I leave and I come back. Like, it's not, you know, it's you can't let people put you off something that you know fundamentally can help you to grow. And look, it was an hour flight from home. You know, whenever I got homesick, I jumped on a flight home when I could. So, you know, the 18 months I spent there was so valuable for me in my personal development that it would have been a real shame to not do it because such and such said it was this and so, you know. So again, it's just a mindset towards challenges and you know, putting yourself out your comfort zone.
I think that's so interesting because it's really funny because my early memories when I was going out to Juventus, I think I've been there 3 or 4 times. And one of the earliest times I met with Patrice and some of us, and I would go to a cafe, and I was surprised by how kind of quiet it is. And as a footballer, like, you could, I don't know if this is true every kind of corner of Turin, but we would go to a cafe and he wouldn't be bothered. So either he needed quiet spots, but I think it's quite interesting that you kind of, what you've kind of confirmed of Patrice, because when we were meeting with him out there, of course, he was thinking of how to do more kind of content ideas around himself. So I felt like he felt within that time that, I can be a bit more proactive. And for yourself, you've, along with all the many hats you wear, started doing a lot more broadcasting thing. And I think what's been amazing for me to witness is, especially for the ladies that have been part of the England setup, a lot of you have found different lanes to do broadcasting careers and kind of keep that up. How were the hurdles into breaking into that? Because of course, you know, it was, you look at football coverage and you think it's crazy that there was a lot of just males talking about football. Talk about that journey, starting to get more involved. Of course, we saw in Sky Sports this week. What was the process getting into that? What did you learn going through that kind of journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think for broadcasting, there's been a real intentional effort to make sure that there's a greater diversity across the board of broadcasters, pundits, content creators, because the audience is diverse. So as a result, you're seeing much more women in the men's game who are footballers or ex-pros speaking on men's football, because ultimately I think the misconception is that if you're a woman you won't know what you're talking about. But we've watched men's football from like young, because we
exactly
on TV. You know, I remember vividly like watching Man United beat Everton, lose to Everton in 95, I believe it was, FA Cup final, bawling my eyes out with my brother. And knowing I watched it so many times and knowing like every play, every kick, you know, so we've been exposed to men's football as much as anybody else.
Absolutely.
And obviously we've played the game, so we understand it. It's not a different game in terms of the actual game, you know, and the tactics and everything. So, you know, I think that people are realizing more and more now that, you know, women do have valid opinions on,
of course, absolutely.
But there's a cultural shift. You know, you have men that foam at the mouth just seeing a woman even talk about football, and you have men that, you know, you will have people that just want to judge it based on you being a good pundit, whether they agree with you or not. Which, to be fair, you know, the best pundits, you know, I love Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher. I think they're brilliant. Some people can't stand them. Some people don't like what they say, and that's okay. You know, I want to be judged by you know, the value of my analysis and my opinions, not by the fact that I'm a woman. So I think there has been a progression with that, but you know, there's still lots of abuse that you get as a female pundit, which you just kind of have to, you know, you have to just accept that that's part of the course. Although, you know, I do think the likes of Twitter and Instagram really need to make sure now that
100%.
they're, you know, they are, to even get on the platform, you have to be verified. I think that needs to come now.
I personally feel like if there was a way to do it going forward, you need to have official ID to create an account. There's I just don't, it's just a lot of excuse making. It's something that of the many things that happen in this world that bewilder me. One of the things I tweeted was like, going forward, it should be.
I don't know if you've ever been on a dating app or like, I mean, anything like.
Yeah, totally.
Get on the date, you need to basically do Face ID.
Right.
You need to it's like social media verification. So verify through Facebook. Sure. You need to put your email and phone number to get on a dating app.
Yeah.
Alone, like, be able to speak publicly to other people. Sure. So there is no excuse for not being verified on Twitter. Twitter are openly allowing abuse on their platform because it suits them.
It's crazy because for me as well, like I'm a good friend of one of your teammates, Alex Scott, and of course, as Alex kind of was very proactive getting onto social media, and I know people adore her work. I remember I was traveling with the band The Script, and we were watching the World Cup coverage from a tour bus and seeing Alex do a thing, and everyone goes, "Wow, she's great!" And not just her, but many of female players that have taken up punditry in the men's broadcast. But then you look at Twitter, you might see someone's name, and if it isn't the classic, like you see someone's name trend on Twitter because people think they're dead, it will be abuse. And you're thinking people complain, and I just think it's insane that we have these digital platforms that don't do more to create a more happier and more harmonious community. It's spiraling out of control more than ever.
The thing is, it's like, you know, it's not Twitter's job necessarily to create a harmonious community.
Sure.
People have hatred within them.
Yeah.
So express
Absolutely.
that hatred. You know, no one can control that. What you can do though is increase accountability. So if you decide to be racist on Twitter, best believe you're going to get found out pretty quickly. That's it.
Well, I don't think they do it. Sorry to cut you. I don't feel that they do it quick enough, and I feel what gave me great hope was that the power of people's money, the actual good people who are not racist, not sexist, really nice, just decent people, will say to these companies that are sponsoring and advertising on these platforms of Facebook, Twitter, that are allowing hate, we're not going to buy your products. And then now, because these companies are putting pressure on Twitter and Facebook, now we're actually seeing change. So I don't care how we get there. I don't care if the reasons is because of money. I just don't want people just to come out with dumb, nonsensical things.
Yeah.
I mean, we obviously want to...
the argument is, you're invading my privacy if I have to verify myself on Twitter.
Well, don't go on it then. You don't have to be on it.
You don't have to be on it. And B, it's hilarious to me that the same people that will share everything from what they're eating for breakfast to when they're going to the bathroom to when they're getting married are the same people saying, we need more privacy. No, you share a lot.
Yeah, so exactly.
If you're on a social media platform, you are already compromising privacy. And we already live in a world where, like, our data is already compromised. The fact that you can see something being sold to you and you were just thinking about it 5 minutes ago, even though you've not bought it, means that we're past that point. So I just think verification needs to come in. So people think twice about saying something ridiculous and putting their hate out there, because they'll lose their job.
Well, I had a conversation with Chris Medlin, who's a F1 journalist, and I said to him just recently, what I would probably suggest anyone in the media who's trying to promote equality and fairness, and then obviously people like yourself who are athletes and now broadcast journalists or pundits, you have a platform. If you want to put something out that's positive, take off your comments. Because what you do is that you end up not allowing idiots to say all lives matter or get on with it or other stupid things.
You take off your comments on Twitter.
You can take off a response on Twitter. From what I remember, you can do that, and definitely on Instagram. Because at the end of the day, what happens is that I think of nothing more fun than to frustrate those idiots who want to say something negative and who can't. And by that point, you've moved on to something else, and then you allow people to be able to speak about it.
Crazy. They come find you. Like on Twitter, I went private for a little bit because I was done with seeing that energy.
Yeah.
Those same people will now go on Instagram and I'll try to add you on Instagram. They'll friend request you to now accuse you.
It's
a badness.
They'll ask to be your friend just so they can send you abuse. I mean, it's just it's they've got a screw loose. So
I think you can just deal with it by not giving these people air as much as possible, and then obviously with people like you, if you're putting out in the spotlight, hey Instagram, hey Twitter, hey Facebook, this is unacceptable, then they have to change things because advertisers, sponsors are watching. Obviously, you've worked with a few, and you've got a big profile, so therefore I would say let's do that. Actually, while we're on this subject, due to recent media events, it was was thought to a community as a sport. As a country, like what we can actually do to continue supporting change, and obviously, you're a proponent of that because obviously you've been fighting for equality for a long time. But what do you feel could be done more from obviously I know Sky going all out there supporting brilliantly, but what more can be done? What would you say could be done to be able to support this change?
Well, I think change looks so different in so many different contexts. And I think that's what we've seen. I think post George Floyd's death, we've seen change that we've never seen before. We've seen organizations really step up and say, look, okay, we are really going to look in the mirror now and actually put things into practice to activate change. Sky being one of them. Premier League have obviously been very, very sort of front vocal about Black Lives Matter campaign. I'm very conscious that, they can't stop at being campaigns. They have to become everyday life cultures and practices. And that's where the change really gets difficult because you're really effectively asking people to change their behavior, change their mentality, which takes a long time. But, I think as a lawyer, personally, I think a lot of change is activated through law, through policy. Seen in America, laws have come in where I think the chokehold that killed Eric Garner has now been banned. We've seen, obviously the officers responsible for George Floyd's death arrested for murder and will be tried. I think a lot of people now, in terms of the Black community, are more conscious of history and where history has erased a lot of the truth, really, that we need to be aware of, that it's going to impact our everyday life. I think education, there's change in education where people are saying we have been taught something that is half of the truth, or we've been taught something that really just twists the truth to make it sound better than it is. So I think a lot of people have done a lot of reading, a lot of educating themselves to understand the context of race, to understand racial politics, to understand identity. And I think that is a massive change internally in people, that people are saying, and particularly people who are not Black are saying, actually, I can't just not do anything anymore. And turn a blind eye. I have to be more active and proactive in making sure that I'm having a ripple effect on, race relations. I understand as much as possible and can empathize with the Black experience. Those things to me that are far more important than a campaign.
No
I've
gimmicks.
I don't want to call it gimmicks because I think it's important that, we have awareness in our faces, but it can't stop there. It can't stop at a campaign. We go, okay, budget for campaign, put lots of famous faces in, say what we need to say, and we're off. So it has to be something that yes, it's a campaign, but this is what we're holding ourselves accountable to. You know, if you are an organization that's talking about Black Lives Matter, but have no Black people that work for your organization, the change that needs to happen is in your organization. Allow the campaign. Like, you know, so that's where I think there's a challenge, that it's much, much harder to change things in your house. You've always done things the way they've always been done, than there is to kind of externally say the right thing. So, but I do think there's been a lot of change in that area, and it's really you know, it's really encouraging to see. And there's
been so much things that have actually changed already. And like, you know, what I would say from our community is for us to be able to stay on message and don't do things that are distracting, and then also reverse racism ourselves. You know, because it's counterproductive to the whole movement. You know, obviously we're getting excited about entanglement and all these other things, and it's like this is a moment in time that we are never ever going to get again. So therefore the world can actually change, and everyone's supporting, and everyone, you know, we need to team up with people, educate people, speak to people, make them feel comfortable to be able to ask questions. You can't just be like, you know, and do not say broad things like all white people do this or things like that, which would actually put people off who think, oh, actually, I want to ask a question, but I don't know if that's going to come. Right. Make them feel comfortable to do so.
You've hit the nail on the head, because I think ultimately, you know, we have to understand that one of the changes as well that I've really appreciated is the conversations cross race, cross cultures, is white people saying, actually, you know, I don't understand that. Can you enlighten me? Or just going away and doing it themselves. And we have to be in a place where we can have conversations that are shared conversations without that reverse racism, without generalizing and saying and demonizing every white person. We're not going to get anywhere by doing that. And I do think that that's a really, really important point, because anti-blackness can't become anti-whiteness.
Exactly.
It has to just be, you know, we are judged by the content of our character, whoever we are, and that's what it is. And I think the Black culture, you're right, can get distracted at times, because you know, there's a big cancel culture now where, you know, we're going to cancel Kanye West and we're going to cancel this person.
Every week it's someone different.
Every week it's someone, or you know, they didn't say something that's Black enough, so you were going to cancel them, which is ridiculous, because you know, and I think back to when I was younger, and you know, I was quite good in school, and I was a good speaker, and you know, the people that called me out on the way I spoke were Black girls, who said, "Oh, you speak too white," or "You speak too," and it comes to a place where it's like, we shouldn't box ourselves that this is what Black should be, this is what Black should sound like, and because we do that, we actually end up again dividing within ourselves. You're canceling Kanye West because he said something you didn't like. Okay, that's fine. But how about looking at why Kanye West is where he is? How about understanding why Kanye West is a billionaire that has, you know what I mean? Like, we're too busy canceling on Twitter than actually looking and saying, forget whether I like him or not. This is a successful Black man that is doing a lot of big moves in the world, and the list goes on, whether it's Jay-Z, whether it's Kanye West, whoever it may be.
We have a lot of crabs in the barrel mentality, you know, and just, you know,
we got to get
it's silly, because at the end of the day is that I you know, just lastly before we move on, I'm very proud when I see yourself and Alex on television. You know, I take your punditry, your comments, just as seriously as I would with Jamie Carragher. Not so much Gary Neville, because I'm a Liverpool supporter. I understand that. But you know, I just think that we've got to stop. I'll reiterate again, and I'm going to say this to every single personality that we speak to on any platform that we have. Please stop talking. I was going to say entangle. Please stop talking and communicating with the stupid. As soon as someone puts all lives matter, they're doing it because they want that reaction. Do not give them air. Concentrate on the people that actually will come out with something you may disagree, but at least it's actually there's some thought in the actual debate. So I'll just say that personally.
Yeah, I made that decision too a few weeks ago, actually, when the All Lives Matter banner happened with the Burnley plane. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is not.
What can you do with that type of stupid? You can't.
It's not even a conversation that we should waste our energy on, because ultimately, those people are trying to understand. I mean, a lot of those people are racist anyway. I mean, they're not trying to have.
What are they doing now? So what's the next plan?
So it's like, let's just, let's keep focused. And I think there's a lot of battles that ultimately sometimes you just won't win because people just don't want to change and learn, and that's okay. They'll get left behind.
But it's such a unusual time, isn't it? And it's where it's such a battle to create, positive change. And like, I got to say, shout out to Dre and a good friend Joel Bayer over at Cheeky Sport, because I think they've been great at trying to maintain that conversation. I'll directly contact these guys and say, can you help me understand what's going on? Teach me these kind of, teach me about these kind of things. But by the way, sorry
just to cut you there, Matt. I think ultimately, it's not the job of Black people to teach anyone anything. I think you have to, be conscious and go out of your way to
absolutely
educate and learn and have conversations. But I think there's a lot of that, like, I don't really understand, so can you just dump and download and teach me?
Sure.
No, you can teach yourself, and I think we all can. I've done more reading in this period than I've ever done.
Same, yeah.
I just feel like I need to understand a few things a lot more.
And I think that's what's been great for us at Alternative Sport and Virgin Magazine. We want to support any way we can all these kind of battles. It's so important, and hopefully we do our piece to create positive change. But it's really interesting because we also saw it recently. Last week, I saw on Sky News an article about an unnamed Premier League footballer who wrote an open letter saying that he is gay, but isn't prepared to come out publicly. Now, we spoke about this off air, but I wanted to ask your opinion on this because, of course, in the women's football, we have openly gay female footballers. And I want to understand and how different is. I mean, it shouldn't matter if you feel however you feel. It should. My feeling is, of course, to the open world, you are who you are, and you should celebrate that. Of course, there are people, sadly, that how they act towards these kind of things. How come it is difficult? Of course, in a player's own time, they should feel comfortable to say, how they feel. But to understand, what are the significant differences in female football and men's football where coming out as gay is a difficult topic?
I'm not sure that the reason why female footballers are much more comfortable in being open about their sexuality than in men's football. I do think the fan, the context of fans and the profile of men's football makes it more difficult because ultimately people fear abuse and people fear, the homophobia that inevitably will come. I think in terms of, the women's game, women are just, the players are, I guess, just much more comfortable and are accepted. I think historically, players have been accepted in who they are. And so once you're accepted in who you are, you're much more comfortable in being who you are. I'm not sure in the men's game, historically, it's been something that has been accepted, within the changing room or within the club. And you may get abuse, you may have got abuse from your own teammates or jokes and banter from your own teammates. So there's differences there. But what I would say now, I think, is that you know, we live in a world where, you know, if you come out as being gay, you know, it's not something that 99.9% of the time people are like, that's great. Okay. You know, it's, we've moved on from it being like, wow, that's, you know, that's amazing. It's just an accepted thing. Certainly in, you know, the Western world, in the UK, in the US. So I think that for the likes of like male professional players, if they were to look at somebody like Megan Rapinoe, who's openly gay, who is one of the best footballers in the world, and the reaction she gets, yes, she gets abuse. That's part of course. Whatever you are, black, white, woman, man, high-profile people will get abuse.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at the majority of it, she's clapped up, she's praised, she's an inspiration.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I honestly, genuinely feel like if a Premier League footballer were to come out tomorrow and say, I am gay and I'm still a great footballer, they would be praised to no end. And they would get every brand, every commercial wanting to work with them.
Yeah.
You know, we see now the impact of, you know, social activism from players. Marcus Rashford is like, I mean, he's pretty much like touching on Jesus right now.
Yeah.
You know,
in terms of
how much he is loved by the public in terms of his activism for child poverty. You know, he was just announced yesterday as an honorary doctorate of, I believe, Manchester University. Like, you know, so I think times have moved on. I think now players are expected almost to speak up on social issues because their platforms are so big. And so I genuinely feel like, you know, I don't know how genuine that that piece was around the gay footballer who was unnamed and came out. But I mean, it was I don't want to be rude, but it's pointless because ultimately, if you remain unnamed and you're just really just adding to the speculation, it's just open.
Yeah.
And actually, all it did really was just drove clicks and views to, I think it was the Sun or Daily Mail. It doesn't have an impact. The impact will happen when it's like someone who we've been watching for 10 years comes out and says, actually, I'm gay.
Yeah.
And of course,
awesome.
You know, I think it will be an awesome reaction because I've seen an awesome reaction for women who are gay. So that's what I hope. I hope that, you know, it will just break the ice. And then after that, you'll probably see a lot more.
Absolutely. And, you know, we would be, you know, we, beyond friends and family, we would be the first to celebrate it and embrace it. If you look at the players of post-career, of, you know, of course there are men footballers that have post-career come out, but, you know, we can, you know.
Yeah, but that goes to show, doesn't it? That goes to show, doesn't it, that the fear is, what will I lose when I'm playing? How it will, you know, because if you're comfortable coming out after you've played, it means you feared the repercussions when you played. But that's what I'm saying. I don't think that fear anymore is as valid as it used to be. And it was valid, I think, before. Because, you know, sexuality is not an easy thing to talk about. And people are private. People don't want to talk about their private life.
And if there's no other reason, then you know, if you need a jolt or a reason to be able to actually come out and actually be yourself, please just think of the amount of money that you'll be making and the amount of you know, exposure that you're making, as you mentioned. Like, can you imagine, like, you know, for that person, and then it would lead to other people thinking, wow, that person's getting all that love, I'm gonna come out too, you know, which is what we want.
What's the name of that rugby player that had that amazing book? I forget his name. Is it Gareth Thomas? Or
Gareth Thomas. Yeah, it was Gareth Thomas was the Welshman who came out.
I mean, you know, he's a legend.
I mean, it really shouldn't matter really.
It hasn't changed anything, right?
It's what you do in the field should matter more than anything else. But any last question, Now you have, you're always making big moves, always making me jealous, and because I have to keep on trying to keep up with you.
Keep up with me.
No, I'm saluting you. You're on the television now in every home with a massive platform, and I could not be more proud of you. But now, you've become the director of women's football at Aston Villa. Congratulations again. You see, you keep on now. I have to Liverpool. Come and can you give me a position just in title? I don't need any pay, just so I can keep up with any. But what I was going to ask you is what positive changes do you want to make in women's football from the position that you've got now? And can it I'll just leave it on that. What positive changes can you make?
I think a big part of my job is strategy, and it's long-term strategy and short-term strategy. The big things for me are making women's football more of a I don't know what the right wording is, but probably a consumer product where fans are coming to the stadiums every week, and we build an economy that is based on fans persistently coming every week. I think so far women's football has been something that people tune in on en masse every 4 years for a World Cup or an Olympics, but that doesn't necessarily translate to every week. So we gotta try and create an engagement that means that fans are comfortable coming every week and paying their money to do so.
Yeah.
Every business, every product wants, right? You want that sort of regularity of engagement and income. I think sort of beyond that, we're still in a place with women's football where the professional experience for players is very important.
Yeah.
And where now a lot of female teams have male parent teams that are in the Premier League, for example, there's still a lot of there's a huge opportunity, I think, to have elite programs that are run by massive teams, whether it's Man United, Liverpool, Man City, Aston Villa, where I'm at, Everton, there's Premier League teams now that have women's teams.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important. A big part of my job is to make sure that what is the professional experience for players? Are they being treated like elite footballers? Are they being given everything they need to make sure that they can perform as elite footballers on the pitch? Which then makes the products better, which then makes the competition better, which then leads to people saying, wow, I want to go and watch that every week. And then lastly, I think there's lots to do in terms of just, and I think this is the same for the men's game as well, just investing in the future of players, investing in dual careers. My experience as a footballer was that I had parallel careers. I knew that I was going into media and I was going into, the executive side of the game before I finished playing. So as clubs, how can we help players? It's a short career. Yeah, we end our careers an average at 35. The average citizen ends their career at 65. So there's another 20 years.
What do you do after that? Yeah.
What do you do after that? I mean, in the men's football, you've earned enough money probably where you don't need to work again. In women's football, that's not the case. So I'm very, very passionate about post-career and what are we doing whilst players are in professional environments? What are we doing to support education? What are we doing to support post-career? So that, and which inevitably creates better all-round individuals as well. When I was studying whilst I was playing, naturally I was more disciplined. Naturally I had better time management because I had to balance, two competing things, which then translates on the pitch. So those are the things that I'm really, I'm really keen to build a strategy around for certainly Aston Villa, and hope it has its impact.
Well, I mean, you mentioned that you what do you do after your playing career? And yet again, you've bettered me again by going to Sky. Now, what is that like? Congratulations on that. Obviously, I know we've mentioned it several times, and I'll be texting you mentioning it again. But what is that like? And congratulations again.
Yeah, no, I love doing TV. I love doing punditry, and I've always been a bit of a football geek, to be honest. I love watching football, and I love sort of analysing the game, and to do so with in the men's game, sometimes sat across from people that I watched when I was younger.
Yeah.
I was on the TV the other day with Matt Letizia. Like, I remember Matt Letizier's absolute worldies when I was young.
I'm a Portsmouth fan, and I could admit he's a legend. So big up to Matt Letizia.
I have these moments all the time, like, oh my God, I used to watch you. And 2 years ago, I worked for ITV and was working with Ryan Giggs and Gary Neville, and literally, like, they are legends to me.
Yeah.
So to be sat on the same table as them now, analysing the game, it really means a lot to me, and I take it very seriously. And as I said earlier, for me, I always try and prepare as if it's my first gig, as if it was my first game. And I take the fact that I'm a female pundit very seriously, because I know that, we're still quite new to the game. And I want to give my best all the time, and I want to, I make mistakes. The other day I said Marcus Greenwood and not Greenwood. And Rashford and Greenwood messed up. And
good remix. What a play that would be if that was mixed up.
And people call you out on it, people because you're a woman, and people go, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. They forget that, for 50 minutes, I'd said the name correctly.
But remember the rule. We've got to keep this rule. Don't give them air, because they're idiots.
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm just making the point that there's pressure there, and there's pressure to do what.
Well, we think you're doing amazing, honestly.
Yeah, and I think I always try and contribute a difference of opinion, or something that something that I feel somebody might not have seen, and I think that's the job of a good pundit to do.
Absolute last question for me, I promise you, and then we will let you go.
Right into the sunset.
To do something else. You're doing something with NASA next. Something else. I'll be keeping an eye on this. That's it. Around about women's football, obviously, we're talking about the national teams. Obviously, the American teams is so big, so huge when it comes to obviously winning trophies, first of all, and then also, their profile in America. What type of things do you think that we can do to be able to boost up the players that we have in the UK? And then who do you think, I mean, if it's fair to say, is someone that we need to be keeping an eye out, who's going to be the next big face, next big star?
What do you mean, in broadcasting, or?
No, in women's football, like the next big star in women's football.
Oh, next big star.
I know you're friends with a lot of them, so don't take offence, anyone. I've put her in the spot.
I should probably big up the Villa girls. We've got a few at Villa. One thing I was keen to do when I came into the job was to make sure that we are retaining the DNA of the team, which is local players who've grown up in Birmingham, who are Aston Villa fans, who get the chance to be professional footballers. I mean, that's what I was, as a Birmingham girl. So we've got a few. Look out for a defender called Alicia Endow.
Mm-hmm.
She is, athletic. She's got great mentality, good skills as a defender. So look out for her. There's a few. Hopefully she gets into the England team soon.
I'll be looking out for that. She's got you to thank, as well as obviously her talent and stuff.
Yeah.
That's it. You got to keep on top of the female game. I was at the FA Cup final, the last one we got to have between Man City and West Ham. So I can certainly vouch for the female game being entertaining, because we have some amazing talent, and I've been in and around up at St George's with the recent Lioness squad, and the energy and the chemistry there has been great. So I think as fans, we should be very excited. And Eni, thank you so much for chatting to us, talking many of topics and many of big topics. So massively appreciate you sharing these thoughts with us, because there's not many out there that would share it. We like to take on those kind of hot topics, and just want to say thank you for giving us your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Cheers, guys.
So where can we, so before we run away, where can we find you on the socials?
You can find me on
Nice people only.
Instagram at Eni Aluko. Twitter is Eni Alu, although, yeah.
Someone beat you to the name.
I have a love-hate relationship with Twitter, so sometimes I'm on it, sometimes I'm not. So yeah, Instagram, Twitter. My book, They Don't Teach This, has its own page, which is They Don't Teach This on Instagram. You can buy the book on Amazon, Waterstones, as I said earlier, the audiobook on Audible. So yeah, that's me.
So, that's not just nothing. That's a lot of things there.
Yeah, this is an entrepreneur that isn't going to stop, and the wheels of the train should never stop. Eni, thank you so much as ever. Andre, thank you as always, and we should all see you next time.